We're live.
All right, we are live.
We are having a few chat. Pop off and tell us if you can see us. We got 2 viewers, Brandon.
Let's go. We're big time. We are
Having some
big time.
trouble. Brandon's having some trouble seeing me, I guess. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but
The lowest of budget of operations here. A little bing, little bong. All right, let's get to it.
all right, Brandon, let's run what we got going on. Price is 38,400. Is down 5.1% from last week. It's down from the last month, and it is down 22.6% here. We've got a market cap of $730. We've got a spent output 0.99, so it's just under that 1 mark. So people selling. Current block height is 724,805, and mean block interval is 10 seconds. Last week we had a difficulty adjustment up, so difficult. So that's where we're sitting, man. What's going on? I know you got a half marathon.
Yeah. This weekend I got a couple of things going on. There's I don't know, some stupid ass CrossFit thing that I'm doing. Every Friday, I guess, for the next 3 weeks, there's some competition. I wasn't gonna do it because I got my half marathon on Sunday that I haven't trained for, so I got to save up the back. And some guy was talking shit to me, so now I got to whip his ass on Friday. So I got to do that tomorrow. And then, I'm running a half marathon Sunday, and I haven't ran over 6 miles since college. So I didn't know. I don't know if you guys knew this about me, but I was a Division I athlete, stellar track and field, long distance runner. And so I guess I got that going on. And then I got various other things going on too this weekend where I'll probably just get drunk and run this half marathon hungover. So, what about you? Other than your stream sucking ass and you can't afford internet, so somebody should send us some money or something to help fund Dan's internet because this guy fucking sucks.
I don't know what's going on. I mean,
now your mic is off. Oh my god, the lowest of budget of operations here.
Wait, so you can't hear my mic at all now?
No, I can hear your mic. It's just I can't hear your I can hear you, but not through the mic. This is hilarious. I told Dan to figure out StreamYard, and we were worried about my mic because last time we were on the Canadian Bitcoiners pod, it didn't work. And
all right, what about this?
Okay, now I can hear you.
Okay, but my video is still fucked.
It's not the best.
Let's go like that.
Yeah, we don't need to see you anyway. Jesus Christ. All right, Dan. Well, what do you got going on this weekend?
Can you see me moving around?
Yeah, that's a little better now.
Fuck, dude. Who knows what's going on here? I've got major issues. I've got people stealing my internet. My enemies are after me. I would love if someone could just. Oh, and that's what it is.
Yeah, turn off the VPN.
All right, hold on. Joey coming through clutch.
Of course, Dan's being a fucking idiot. Jesus Christ. All right, well, this is like prime YouTube content, so we'll probably have to chop and screw this one up in order to cut off all this bullshit that Dan's pulling right now.
Okay, you see me?
Yes. All right, Dan. So what are you doing this weekend, buddy? Jesus Christ, this fucking swindler over here.
You know me. You know what I'm up to, buddy. I'm just solo drinking in my apartment, hanging out with the dog.
Oh my god, going to the goat.
You know my life, bro.
Yeah. Oh man. So what are you drinking today? I'm drinking some Twisted Tea action. I don't know if you guys remember the Dare days, the DARE. I don't remember even what it stands for, but there was one commercial that was like, this guy comes up and he's like, hey man, you want to get twisted? And then the guy looks at him. He's like, nah, man, I got to hit the books. And then walks away. And then the waiter that sees it pays for his lunch. So there you go. That's how I feel every time I drink the twisted teas.
Sick story. All right, let's jump into Bitcoin. I know we got the chat popping off. It says we've only got 2 viewers, but there's 3 people commenting. Who knows how the fuck that's possible? People getting on me about low budget op. Let's talk about YouTube. They've got a budget through the roof. They can't figure out views and comments.
Oh my God. So yeah, go ahead and like this video. Tell your friends to tell their friends to get on. So get the chat popping. All right. So yeah, Dan, let's get it going. You went through the price. The price is a little down. Let's go through your first story. I know you got something about Intel that you want to talk about.
Yeah, all my stories this week are about mining. There's a lot going on. So yeah, Intel revealed their new Bonanza mining chip, and they also revealed a mining system with 300 of the chips stacked on top of each other. So I'll focus more specifically on the mining system. It's like I said, 300 chips can deliver up to 40 terahash per second at 3,600 watts of power. It's their first generation, so I kind of understand it. They're probably still in development mode, but they are well behind Bitmine's miners. So Bitmine's S19J Pro can deliver 104 terahash per second at 30,068 watts. So they deliver a lot more hashing power at way lower amounts of energy. And then their S19J XP delivers 140 terahash per second at 30,010 watts. So it's cool to see Intel getting into the mix here. You know, I think they've got a lot of potential, but at the moment they remain well behind their competition. And their goal is to make an ultra low voltage mining system. But they're currently producing lower hash rate at higher levels of energy. So we will see. I mean, it's their first generation. They said they've already got a Gen 2, but they didn't reveal any of the tech specs on that. And then the other interesting thing that kind of came out, not this past week, but a few weeks ago, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, in a blog post from, I think it was their VP, a senior VP, is that Block is one of their customers, which is strange. And I think we talked about it last week, Brandon. But Block, I was under the impression that Block was going to be making their own silicon and developing their own chips in house. So yeah, we'll see. I don't know. It's cool. It's cool to see Intel's in the mix, but as I said before, it's clear that they've got some catching up to do.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, like we talked about last week, I think it's pretty interesting too that the Block is going to be like one of their biggest customers. And I don't know if you saw this today, but Cash App or Block reported earnings, and they had $2 billion worth of volume and charged like a 2% fee, a 2% fee on Bitcoin, making them around $40 million in profit. So 2 billion with a B, just on Cash App. So a lot of people moving on to Cash App, and then the Lightning Network and everything like that. Once they implemented that through Cash App, I think it's really big. And yeah, I mean, Block overall, good company. I'm full disclosure, I'm a holder of Block, and I think Dan is too. But yeah, I think Intel getting into the game is really good. I think that their development of chips and everything like that is solid, and I think that more and more of these big players are just going to keep getting into the Bitcoin mining space because they're seeing how profitable it can be. So it just definitely makes sense for overall for the industry. They're starting a little bit later, but they're also a big dog, so they have all this money behind it. So we'll see. I think it's a good move going forward.
What do you think about? I mean, there's obviously political instability over in Europe at the moment, and some people are saying that China might take advantage of this opportunity and swoop in on Taiwan. Of course, Taiwan is responsible for a huge number of semiconductors. If that happens, I mean, I think it opens the market up big time, and so yeah, maybe Intel's a bit late on the global stage, but as far as national production, it seems like they might be right on time. And with everything that's happening in Europe, it's clear that miners are coming to North America, both the U.S. and Canada, to escape these things and to get a little bit more geopolitical stability. And so, yeah, they might be a little late again on the global scale, but if mining continues to migrate west into North America, they might be right on time.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I saw something today too that said like the United States has 35% of the overall Bitcoin hash rate right now after China banned Bitcoin mining last, I believe it was like June or July last summer. So after they did that, it definitely helped the United States. overall. And I think that going forward, I'd like to see more miners kind of, I guess, migrate outside of the United States, but it seems like everywhere else, like you were saying, like the geopolitical stability definitely plays an effect of all these miners. So yeah, I think it's good going forward, and they got a little catching up to do, but I think that Intel's definitely primed to do it. So let's move on. Let's move on to the next story. So I kind of focus on a few other things. I focus on more, I guess, macro things, governments and countries stuff implementing Bitcoin, et cetera, et cetera. So the first one I want to talk about is Bitcoin. Bitcoin legal tender laws going to be introduced sometime this year in Mexico. So that's just south of us here in the United States. But Indira Kempis, which is the Nuevo Leon senator, visited El Salvador earlier this year and basically, really liked what they're doing in El Salvador with Bitcoin legal tender. And I mean, to be honest, how could you not? They're developing the country rapidly. They just opened up a full like veterinary hospital that was basically all funded because of them making Bitcoin legal tender. And more and more of these Latin American countries like Mexico are taking notice of the success of El Salvador uh, turning Bitcoin into legal tender. And so I think, if the El Salvador experiment would have gone negatively, not many of these countries would be implementing it. But obviously, they're doing something right there, and they're seeing a lot of positives come out of it. And so LATAM is kind of taking notice. What do you think about all this?
Yeah, I think it's only a matter of time before countries start to adopt it, and for whatever reason, LATAM appears to be ahead of the curve here. Uh, I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's super bullish in my opinion. Do you know, Brandon, where like any of these locations are? I heard you like struggling to say the name of a city.
Well, yeah, I have no idea, honestly. I am part Hispanic. My grandmother is from Mexico City, but other than that, I have no idea. All I know is it's like a small senator. But I mean, it's definitely a step in the right direction, right?
That's what that's
So
what I was that's what I was wondering is like how big it was. What was the population size? Because we see this stuff too. Like I think we saw it in California. There's one person in some out of nowhere town that's proposing to make Bitcoin legal tender in California. It's like, all right, well, there's zero chance it's actually going to pass in California. And it seems pretty easy to just propose these things. So I was kind of wondering how big this guy was.
yeah, so I'm not 100% sure on that, but I do think that, Mexico and California are drastically different, because like we were saying earlier, the United States has a lot more political stability. These LATAM countries, Mexico's using their own currency, the peso, which isn't very stable, especially like relative to like the US dollar, which isn't stable at all these days either. So I definitely think like it holds a little bit more weight in these LATAM countries because they're more underdeveloped than the United States and some of these other ones. I wouldn't say Mexico is necessarily like a third world country, but Bitcoin being legal tender there would make a little bit more sense than it being introduced in states. But it makes more sense, like we kind of discussed last week when California, Arizona, and some of these states proposed Bitcoin to be legal tender. It's mostly because like we were talking about, like it's almost like Europe at a point where these southern states stayed open and they're suffering from the policies of other major states like California and New York that shut down their economies and everything like that, where states like Florida and Tennessee and Texas and Arizona stayed open. And because they stayed open, their economy started to thrive. Um, so it is becoming a little bit more segregated in the United States, I feel. We're seeing a lot of people moving from blue to red states just because of them staying open. Um, but I think that it's still overall the United States is pretty, I guess, together as of sorts compared to a country like Mexico.
Yeah, the other thing you have to keep in mind too for these LATAM countries are the ability to use Bitcoin for remittance payments, right? And you can do so with apps like Strike, and it looks like Cash App will probably be rolling something similar out. You can do so basically instantaneously and free. So the remittance payment part for LATAM is huge. There's obviously a bunch of people in the US right now that are sending money back to their families in South America. And if you can do that for free, almost instantaneously, or virtually free and instantaneously, then it's a pretty good deal. You don't have to go through Western Union. You don't have to have the wait time. You don't have to pay their fees, anything like that. So I think that's got to be on the minds of a lot of people. I mean, I would imagine it's on the minds of a lot of people, including politicians down south.
Oh, definitely. All right, let's move into your next story. So what you got on the docket? You got something about Bitfury?
Yeah, Bitfury. I've never been more bullish on Bitfury. Opened up another mining center in Sarnia, Ontario. I know we got a few Canadian boys in the audience here. I think Sarnia is right across the river from like Michigan. Like I think it's super close to Michigan. I might be completely wrong about that, but
Yeah, I have no idea. Canada kind of sucks, to be honest with you. Their ketchup chips are terrible.
it seems like Sarnia, or it seems like Canada is basically like all the landmarks in Canada are just basically landmarks in the U.S. Like they kind like Niagara Falls is a good example of that. Um,
Yeah, 100%. They kind of like poached our culture and everything too. So I don't know. I mean, I anything that's in Canada, you can't really be bullish on or anything like that. But I don't know. You are also a HUD 8 guy too for a while, and they're in Web3. So I don't know if I could really trust you on this one. Why are you so bullish on Bitfury?
Dude, it's right across the river from Michigan, and actually, it's like just north of Cleveland. I bet I could actually see Sarnia from Cleveland on a clear day. Um,
You don't get too many of those in Cleveland, though.
no, almost none. All right, let's talk Bitfury. Yeah, Bitfury, man, opened up a new mining center in Sarnia, Ontario, as I was saying. It's actually already up and operational. By the end of February, they expect to have a capacity of 16 megawatts, and by the end of May this year, they expect to have 28 megawatts. And I believe that they're saying that it's got a total expansion potential of up to 200 megawatts. So that's awesome. This is uh, one of many of their Bitcoin mining centers. They operate now in 6 different countries, including Canada, Norway, Iceland, and Central Asia. And on top of mining, the thing that makes me so bullish on Bitfury is that they are gaining a strong reputation for in-house technological developments. So they now, I believe, are on their 7th generation of in-house developed ASIC mining chips, and they've also partnered with what was the name of this company? They've partnered with a company to develop a immersion cooling technology, and it's scalable, so they can have an entire mining center that is immersion cooled. So this is one of the things that I love about it. They're not just expanding, opening new data mining centers, but they're also doing in-house development. I don't know what's going on with those twisted teas, dude. You're getting twisted. Uh, but yeah, this is I love this stuff. I love to see it, and Brian Brooks kind of popped onto my radar maybe a little later than he should have. Last month when he testified in front of Congress, he just tore him up, man. Like anytime they came at him with anything, he was ready. He had the receipts. So love the company, love to see what they're doing, and looking forward to see what they do going forward.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about this in our Sunday Scary Stock Talk when we were going over HUD 8. The thing I really like to see about these Bitcoin mining companies is that they focus on Bitcoin, right? A lot of these big companies, as they scale, they kind of, focus on a few different things, like Amazon, for example, right? So they got the marketplace, they got AWS, they got, a bunch of different products that they roll out in a bunch of different sectors. But at the beginning, they were just a marketplace, right? So that's what they focus their bread and butter on. I like to see these Bitcoin mining companies like Bitfury come in and just focus strictly on Bitcoin mining. How can we become so efficient? How can we find the cheapest amount of energy or cheapest cost of energy? And how can we obtain the most of it? How can we scale up our miners, et cetera, et cetera? So I really like Bitfury. And I think like this expansion too is very bullish for it. Not financial advice, of course. So, I mean, if you want financial advice, you should go over to the Canadian Bitcoiners podcast and listen to Len. But don't really because he gave us bad advice on HUD 8. So obviously that's satire. I don't want to indict Len over here, but yeah, I mean, overall, it's very bullish for me. I think Canada is a good space for Bitcoin miners, especially with how cold their winters get and everything like that. The letting off heat doesn't really, for like half the year, it doesn't really matter to them too much. So, um, yeah, overall, I think Bitcoin mining is definitely heating up, and the industry as a whole is just expanding like crazy. So, yeah, you got anything else on that?
I just want to point out, yeah. So the company I was talking about that they've partnered with to develop this immersion cooling technology is Liquid Stack. And again, like the cool thing is that they're proving that they can do it at scale, so they can have entire mining centers immersion cooled. And hey, if you can keep these things cool and you can keep them running longer, then there's less churn on your machinery, right? So again, like this is the stuff I love to see. I don't want to see a company, Len, I'm looking at you, bud. I don't want to see a company focused on fucking Web3 and making sure that their board has 40% women on it, right? Like I just don't care about that. I want the best people in the best places working uh in positions where like it's the best match. So love to see it. Love to see Bitfury doing this. And again, super bullish on anything Brian Brooks is doing. So yeah, that's what I've got. And I mean, uh, you had said something else too that is slipping my mind now. So we can move on if you want to. I
Yeah,
gotta slow down on the sauce here.
yeah, glad you pay attention to everything I say while we're doing this conversation back and forth. That's really great. Our connection here is just unbelievable.
Buddy,
Treat my
what happened to your head? What where I you had a haircut like 3 weeks or 2 weeks ago and
I
it
know it's
already looks like
fucking up.
shit.
I gotta go see Nick the barber, my homie.
Unreal.
He's a candy. He listens to us all the time. Just kidding.
Nick the
But
Barber.
all right. So the next story I got is Brazil is going to regulate crypto and Bitcoin. So Brazil is the biggest country in Latin America by population. The Brazilian Senate will now vote on a bill that allows the Brazilian central bank to regulate cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. So the bill was initially unanimously passed by the CAE. So it kind of gives promise to the Senate vote looking going forward. The only thing I don't like about this bill is basically it's intended to regulate the use of crypto and Bitcoin for a quote unquote illegal activity. So they're going to be trying to monitor these transactions more closely. So, we're seeing a lot of Latin American countries try to integrate Bitcoin, crypto, what have you. My last story was all on Mexico wanting it to become legal tender. So this is another step. I don't know if it's necessarily in the right direction because, I feel regulation can be good at some points, but it's also, a sense of control, right? So I don't really know how I feel about this. I think a good portion of the Brazilian population, I think it's like 3 million people have used Bitcoin or made a purchase of some sort of cryptocurrency on an exchange, and that's the same amount of people that are like active on their stock exchange. So obviously it's a very very big popularity, but you know, is the regulation going to be good? Time will tell. Like we kind of said earlier, in the Latin American governments are not necessarily like the most stable. We also saw, Brazil kind of do some corrupt things when it came to the Olympics and the World Cup, forcing all these people to work endless hours and things like that just to get prepared for it. So I don't really know how the Brazilian government's going to go forward with this, and really looking as a bright outlook. But it's another Latin American country getting involved with Bitcoin. So how do you feel about it? I'm kind of like up in the air on it. I think it's good in some aspects and bad in some.
Yeah, I mean, you always have to balance these things. I do want to point out before I go forward that it looks like Brandon, someone in the audience actually wants to rent. I know you've got your unit listed.
No
So
free ads. I
maybe,
actually we can get into that at another time, but I might be listening to that on Airbnb now. So
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe send this guy a message, tell him about your unit. Maybe send him a few pics of your unit.
yeah,
And
I can send pics of my unit if you want. on my OnlyFans if you guys want. Charge
Yeah.
monthly, send sats,
Yeah. Green Candle OnlyFans coming soon.
etc., etc.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Look, it's like Bukele was catching some shit today or yesterday about he was calling out. I forget who he was calling out, but someone kind of called him out and saying, "Oh, well, you don't call out China." Like he's partnered with China for a few things, and China obviously is doing some things that some people might classify as abuses of human rights.
Why some people and not others?
Right? Yeah. So it's like no one's going to be 100% good. What you hope for is that the people that are look. I always tell people this. Like I said this for 4 years while Trump was in office too, and you can get there's like four options. You can have the person that tells you what they're doing and they're a good person. So they're good and they tell you the truth. That's like the optimal. That person almost never exists. The opposite side of that is you could have a person who's evil and lies to you, right? That's like the worst of the worst, and I feel like that's where most politicians are. Like they don't have your best intentions in mind and they're going to lie to you about it. And then there's the in between where it's like, "Oh, I'm a good person, but I lie to you sometimes, or I do things opposite of what I say I'm going to do." So it's like you have to just constantly think like, well, there's this unachievable maximum that most people just aren't going to be in, and then there's the worst, which is completely evil, and then there's a lot of in between, and so each person has to be taken with a little bit of good and bad, and it seems like Brazil's probably in that. It seems like a lot of LATAM is like LATAM has had how many problems with drug lords infiltrating government and things like that. A lot of it, by the way, funded by things like the CIA. So
Bing bong.
yeah, so it's like Brazil, yeah, maybe they did some shady shit with the Olympics, but at the end of the day, when you start to onboard people into Bitcoin, if it's truly open and they're using Bitcoin the right way, then it's kind of the Trojan horse argument, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, we'll see how it goes. Um, a little bingo, a little mango. I don't know how I feel about it. It's still like you're saying. It's gonna be tough to convince me that any sort of regulation is gonna be good. So yeah. All right, Danny boy, what you got for your next story?
Yeah, I think we could have a great conversation about this one. So, again, it's related to mining, but it's Illinois and Georgia last week proposed tax breaks to attract miners, mining companies specifically. The bill in Georgia was aimed at the state's existing tax code. So, they wanted to basically extend something that they already apply to other data mining centers or other data centers to mining centers, and it's just to exempt the sale or use of electricity that those mining centers are using. And then the Illinois bill, again, would just be modifying an existing piece of legislation, and it would just qualify under the definition of Illinois data center, these mining centers. So both proposals, both proposals are just expanding to include, in this case, it's cryptocurrency miners. They don't specify Bitcoin miners, but that's what they're doing. And I think the big thing that I wanted to point out here is that if you look at Brandon, the link, I know you've got the document open. I linked to a rank provided by the U.S. Energy Information Administration. It's a rank of total energy production. Now it's 2019. I couldn't find anything that was more up to date than this, and it just ranks all of the U.S. states in terms of how much energy they produce. And if you take a look at it, Texas by far is way up at the top. Then you've got Pennsylvania, Wyoming, Oklahoma, West Virginia. So if you look down this list, what you'll see is that Illinois is ranked 11th, which is you could argue is pretty high, but you can see the amount that they've got is way, way, way less than Texas, who leads it. And then Georgia is down here at 28th. And so what I want to talk to you about is like, how do you attract Bitcoin miners to your state if you don't have available energy, right? Like the only way you could do it is through these tax breaks. And the fact that we're seeing states propose these things, I think it just shows you that Bitcoin mining Like the industry's here to stay, because even the states that don't just have a bunch of abundant energy and are trying to attract people into their states, like Wyoming, North Dakota, South Dakota, like I know we've got a bunch of Canadians in the audience. Not a lot of people want to live in Wyoming or North Dakota. Like there's not a lot going on there, right? But there's abundant energy. So you can pull people in with that. Well, Illinois and Georgia, they don't necessarily need Bitcoin miners, but they obviously see, the state representatives see that there's an opportunity here. And so to bring them in, they're going to use things like tax breaks. And so this to me makes me super bullish again on Bitcoin mining, because it's showing you that even these non-energy rich states are trying to attract these companies. Now, I don't know if they'll be successful. I doubt it, because at the end of the day, Bitcoin miners need energy. They need cheap, reliable energy, not necessarily good tax laws. But it is cool to me to see that these states are trying to get them.
Yeah, so people that know me know I know I'm a Chicago guy. I got shooters in Chirac and I got broads in Atlanta. So I have a close home in both of these places, but I think this is a last ditch effort for the state of Illinois. We've had a lot of people moving out of Chicago because it's not, becoming the most friendly place to live. I mean, it's very dangerous. The policies up there have not been very good to the citizens there. And, like even the nice places of Chicago now, I have friends who, renting nice apartments and there's, people getting shot right outside their apartments and things like that. So I think that this is kind of an effort to bring people back, at least in the state of Illinois. Because it's kind of like what we see in like New York, right? So we see the mayor in New York say, "Oh, I'm going to adopt Bitcoin, or I'm going to accept Bitcoin as payment," and then he goes strictly against the Bitcoin ethos. And I think that's kind of the same thing in Chicago, and Illinois as a whole. Illinois, they have a lot of. I mean, outside of the city of Chicago, it's essentially just cornfields. So, I don't know, like really what would be attractive to there. I know that there's a lot of open land. So if you wanted to build like a big facility,
It's got it's as far as energy, it's got to be wind, right? I was thinking the same thing. Like Illinois has nothing. It's got to be wind.
yeah, but that's only like really in the city of Chicago because it's off of Lake Michigan, right? So like anywhere else, it's like, all right, well maybe solar. I don't know what else they would kind of get that energy from. So like I said, I think it's kind of like a last ditch effort because people are moving out of like states like Illinois and moving down south. Now, as far as like the state of Georgia, I mean that makes a little bit more sense to me. I feel, not as many people are there, but I think Atlanta's got a very big hub. People are kind of flocking to Atlanta right now because it's south, but not too south, and they whatever you want to say about their policies, and it's a very large city. It's one of the biggest metropolises in the country. I think it might be like behind like LA, New York, and like Dallas. It might be like the fourth or fifth or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, I think I'm less bullish on Illinois and a little bit more bullish on Georgia. But I think like you said, I think it's like kind of like a last ditch effort to attract people to their states because you see a lot of people flocking to Texas and Florida and like some of these other more Bitcoin friendly states. So they're like, okay, they see it looking for all these other working for all these other places. So they might as well try it. But shout out to my shooters in Chicago and broads in Atlanta. That's all I got to really say about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think these Bitcoin mining companies bring in a ton of employees. But it is interesting. We got Len here saying, I believe that's who's on the Canadian Bitcoiners Clips channel. Check out the Canadian Bitcoiners, their main channel and their Clips channel. Biden's executive order and Russia's new relationship to Bitcoin might throw a wrench in Bitcoin being accepted by the federal government. I agree 100% with this. And Brandon and I were talking earlier about the pending executive order that was supposed to come out this week with everything that's unfolding over in Europe. I don't know if it will come out this week. But the Department of Justice last week announced that they're forming like a special group to look specifically at blockchain technologies and how to confiscate things from these different blockchain technologies. So I think we might be in for some rough times in the US with this stuff, unfortunately. But again, it's like, man, it's getting so in North America, it's getting so integrated that I don't know. I don't think it's going to be as easy to shut down as people might think. I hope that's the case. I know for a fact that that's the case with Bitcoin. I mean, maybe it's, maybe they start shutting down mining operations in the US, and then look what LATAM's going to do. You think Mexico's not going to let these people come down? You think El Salvador's not going to let these people come down? Like, you think Brazil's not going to let these people come down? Joey's saying Corn Pop is busy. Might be asleep. I don't know. I haven't heard from the guy. But yeah,
well, no, I mean, I agree with you here 100%, right? And I think this kind of dovetails into my next story pretty well. So, we have the Canadian government warning exchanges to not encourage self-custody. So exactly like what you're saying, right? So all these places are trying to regulate it and things like that. But Bitcoin can't be stopped, right? Because you can self-custody it, you can exchange it with people, et cetera, et cetera. So we had the CEO of Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, and then the CEO of Kraken. I don't remember his first name, but it's something Powell. They both tweeted out about self-custody, and the Canadian government sent those tweets to law enforcement, which is insane that we're getting to that point. But they're like, basically like, hey, this is bad news. We covered last week how they were freezing bank accounts, and anybody that was in relation to helping the Canadian trucking convoy could be potentially, in some deep shit. And now they're trying to get people to not self-custody their own Bitcoin. So, the one thing about Bitcoin that you mentioned is like, it can't be stopped. I could self-custody my Bitcoin on this ledger over here, and you'll have to come to me to try to get it. And you might not necessarily even know whose address it is or anything like that as well. So that's, the main reason why I think a lot of us are all bullish on Bitcoin. And the way that they're pushing this government control or governmental control right now is making me more and more bullish of Bitcoin by the day. So yeah, what do you think about all that?
yeah. I mean, 100%. Look, if you're a publicly traded company in the US and the SEC slaps you with something, right? It doesn't have to be the SEC. It could be the IRS, could be any government agency slaps you with a subpoena to turn over information, you're going to do it, right? So, I've got family members that are in the legal side of different industries that are like, connected to financial institutions, and they spend entire days just dealing with the IRS, right? So, you know, you have no choice. You just don't have any choice because it's, well, am I going to give up my customers' data, or am I going to go to prison because I've refused to submit to this subpoena? And it's just how it is. So it's more important than ever that you take your, like, if it's not your money until it's in your own wallet. It just isn't. Like, those aren't your coins, those aren't your sats until they're in your own wallet. So get a hardware wallet, take your sats off the exchanges, and then, like you were saying, they got to come to you, right? Come and take it. That's the motto of Texas, right, baby? Come and take it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
the Battle of Gonzales. Yeah, baby, gonna take
put
it.
that shit in a safe. Buy yourself a weapon, and be ready to protect what you got, because they'll come for it. 100% they'll come for it. There's no doubt in my mind. Doesn't matter what your political leaning is, they will come for it.
Yeah, and if you're a pussy like Dan, you gotta need a weapon because you can't defend yourself. Because I could whoop Dan's ass in a fight. So,
Yeah, I'm
I
just
mean,
wait. I wait for a SWAT team to show up at your house, and you think you can
oh
just go
my,
hand to hand with a SWAT team. I
bro, I
love it.
would fucking murder that guy, kick him right in the chest, break his sternum. That's my strategy. But yeah, I don't even know where the fuck I was going with that. I just wanted to flex on you that I can beat the shit out of this guy.
No, I mean, so I start jujitsu lessons next week, actually.
Oh yeah, you need lessons, buddy.
Yeah, I do. I mean, but like, I think it's really important. I think when you're in these unstable times, like, I think people underestimate how quickly things can fall apart. Like we're watching what's happening in Europe right now, and we always think that things are just going to continue to get better. Like that history doesn't bear out that way. So I think you just have to be ready. Like in that, it's on all levels. It's on the physical level. Like you should, you and I, Brandon, how many times do we talk about like it's how important it is to stay healthy, how important it is to be fit, how important it is. Um, so it's in Bitcoin we typically talk about this in terms of money, but it's in terms of everything. You got to be ready for things because things can spiral or drain pretty quickly, man. Like things can fall apart and get a lot worse really quickly.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, part of Bitcoin is like, it's not only like taking control of your money and kind of being aware of like you getting absolutely fucked by inflation and taxation and all these other things that are taking away your hard-earned dollars. It's also like, all right, I got to take control of everything else in my life, right? I got to take care of my diet, my physical fitness, like, how I hold myself. All these other things, like take control of how you learn too, the information you absorb, how you sift through information. It's just kind of like a full-on mindset shift of sorts. So, like you said, things can really could take a turn for the worse. I feel like we've kind of been talking about this impending war going on in Russia for the past couple weeks. And unfortunately, today it seemed like Russia invaded the Ukraine. And yeah, we can kind of get into that. I kind of want to get into that and like your thoughts on it and how you think that ultimately affects Bitcoin, the markets, how it affects us over here in the United States and everything like that. So why don't you take a dive in on that?
Well, yeah. So I mean, I was just saying things can fall apart quickly. The Ukraine used to be called the breadbasket of Europe. Like it used to be one of the most resourceful in terms of in terms of food production. It used to be one of the most resourceful countries in all of Europe, and so that ended when the Soviet Union rolled into the Ukraine. Had forced starvations. You can look this up. It's called dekulakization. Kulaks were successful farmers in the Ukraine, and the Soviet Union went in, stole everything that they had, and it got to the point where it's like, all right, well, you're a successful farmer if you've got a farm and cows. And then it was, well, we confiscated the cows, but you're a successful farmer now if you've got a farm. And then it was, all right, well, we've taken all of your grains and we've taken over your farm and put it into a commune type setting. Now you're a successful farmer if you've got a few plants in your house. Then you're a successful farmer if you've got stuff hidden away in your floorboards, right? So talk about things falling apart quickly. Um, it's already happened, and it happened over and over again in the 20th century, less than 100 years ago. And so, like, we always have to be on the lookout for things like this. As far as what's happening now between Russia and the Ukraine, I was in a boat, to be completely transparent. I was in a boat where I thought it was all just, as some of our friends put it, jawboning. I thought that they were just, trying to rattle cages, that nothing was going to come of it. But yeah, today you wake up and you see you see that Putin's being serious here, and he's rolling into Ukraine. And so my thoughts and prayers are with everybody in both countries, man. The thing is that I'm guessing 99% of Russians have no problem with 99% of the Ukrainians, and like I, so it blows my mind. And yeah, we'll see. I wish that we were better equipped to deal with the situation in the U.S. Unfortunately, I don't think that we are. It says something that we had 4 years, Brandon, of I don't think anyone is questioning our political stances at this point in our careers, but we had 4 years of this shit not happening, record peace deals in the Middle East, and then all that's gone in 1 year. So it's sad. It's sad, man, and it's sad to see that our military is coming out and talking about things like white rage instead of prepping like having a military. Um, I yeah, it's sad to see. I wish that these things weren't happening. And now that they are happening, I'm wishing that we were in, a better place to deal with it. And then the other thing that I wish is that we had a media that would honestly cover it, because a lot of the reason I didn't think anything was going to happen is because our media was pushing it so hard, and our media has been dead wrong about everything for the last 5 years related to Russia. And so I always just assume that whatever they're saying, the exact opposite's true because of how wrong they've been. So I think the US is going to learn and the world's going to learn quickly how important it is to have a truthful media, a trustworthy media, which we no longer have, in my opinion, um, and how important it is to have a military that's actually a military and that isn't focused on nonsense.
Look, I saw something today and it really resonated with me. It says, "Hard times create strong men create good times, good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times." And I definitely think that that's runs true with what's going on right now. We were kind of talking about it earlier, where we don't really like seeing companies that focus on in their investor calls they're talking about how diverse they are and how inclusive this company is and everything like that. Sure, that's all good and well and everything like that. But at the end of the day, we're all about snapping necks and cashing checks, right? So at the end of the day, you want to be a company that's making money. You want to be a company that's hiring the best people. You want to be a company that's being profitable and figuring out the way to effectively use their employees. And it's the same thing in the United States as a whole. And it's the same thing globally. The United States has been on top for a good bit of time. And now it's all this culture that's kind of developing where it's like, I can't say something, I gotta be filtered or I'm gonna get canceled. And you're afraid to really speak your mind. And if you do speak your mind, and specifically like the left doesn't like what you're saying, you're gonna get canceled or banned or something like that. And it's really unfortunate that these are the times that we're living in because especially for like the United States military, like Russians or whoever we're going against don't give a fuck if it's girl or guy or whoever. They're gonna kill your ass, dude. Like they don't care. They're just gonna find a way to to beat your ass. Like in all seriousness. And so like it's just like we're focusing on the wrong things while these other countries like China and Russia are focusing on their authoritarian rule and they're like, hey, you got to do all this, you got to do all this. So instead of here we're discouraging masculinity, we're discouraging all that stuff. And with all the diets and things like that changing as well, we're losing a lot of testosterone in the young kids. Like the way that the things are going in the United States are just like men are becoming weaker and weaker and like mentally just breaking down way too easily.
Well,
And
Brandon, that's I mean, that's going to have real world consequences, right? When
well,
things like this happen.
we're
So
seeing it right now.
yeah, so just imagine, my grandfather, rest in peace, was a World War II veteran. He was a prisoner of war in Nazi Germany, and I think back all the time to like, do you see our generation? Because that's who it would be, us and younger people. Do you think that our generation is going to be storming Normandy? Like, there's zero chance. They can't handle hearing a lecture that they disagree with at university. They're on Yale talking about Halloween costumes being triggering. These people aren't storming a beach to fight a war. There's zero chance. And so, like I said, the world's going to wake up to the fact that over the last 2 decades, 3 decades, whatever it's been, we were focusing on the wrong things. And Russia and China, they were focusing on global domination. Now, look, I disagree with the way that Russia's run and the way that China's run. And I'm not saying that it's better, but certainly we're going to figure out that it's better if your goal is to win a war. Um, so, man, it's a sad state of affairs, and I think it should have people worried. I'm not a fear monger, but it's something that the world definitely needs to recognize.
Oh well, 100%, right? I mean, it's like at the end of the day, like we're saying, it's got real world consequences. I thought it was pretty interesting today too. Like even with everything going on in the Ukraine and Russia, I thought it was going to be a bloodbath in the market for Bitcoin for everything. Bitcoin actually had like a pretty good day, and the stock market in the United States ended up going up.
So
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 what
why
does
so
that
why
tell
is
you?
that? So why is that?
Yeah, exactly, right. Because it's like we've been having these talks that hey, the United States, the Fed's going to raise rates in March, right? We've had our good buddy Masa, who friend of the program. If you join our Twitter Spaces on Friday, you'll see him. But he sent us a tweet that there was like a 71% chance, I want to say, that they're going to raise rates, and it was basically like almost guaranteed whether it's going to be 25 or 50 basis points, right? Well, now we have a war going on over in Russia. Do you really in Russia and Ukraine? Do you really think that they're going to raise rates in the midst of a war where it's like, at least here in Tampa, I saw a buddy say that they rose gas down the street from him by 18 cents from like 9 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock in the morning. So they were all telling me to run to the gas station as soon as I can in case they can't raise it anymore. So do you really think that they're going to raise rates and let these let it make it harder for people to borrow money and things like that
Well,
with this
what's
impending thing?
yeah, what's interesting, so I don't think they'll raise rates at all anymore. I now think that we won't even get a rate hike in March. Um, and what's interesting is that our economy will probably continue. Uh, yeah, Len saying Jamie Dimon said it would go 7 to 8 times in 2022. I mean, I think there's zero chance. I think there's absolutely zero chance. Um, what's going to be interesting to see is how our economy, who hasn't been able for the last 2 years to catch up with these supply chain issues, how any of this will make it any better. It'll make it worse. So our economy will probably get worse, but asset prices will continue to go through the roof because we now live in a world, a fiat world, where your company's value is based on the access that you have to cheap capital. Like that's it. It's not about providing a service. And as you said, friend of the program, Masa, has been saying this about Netflix for apparently years. I just met the guy, but he's been saying this for a long time where it's like, yeah, Netflix, they're not even really providing you a good service. They've just got easy access to capital. So they're a growth company, a growth stock. How many stocks out there, how many companies are like this where they're not even really giving you a better and better service, but their stock price is just up and to the right constantly. So you need to stop and think about that. Um, why is this company, why is the stock selling at 3, 4x when the products are maybe even getting worse? Right. And it's because they're not giving you a service. You're not giving them value for value. Their entire thing is they've got easier access to capital than their competitors. And so it's going to be interesting to see, man, over the next what is it? Almost March. Over the next 9 months, I, our economy could get worse, but the asset bubble could get even bigger, which is what we've been saying is probably going to happen. So, hey,
Yeah.
like, look, it sucks that our thesis is potentially going to roll out as true, but like at this point, if you don't understand that this is how the game works, then good luck to you. But this is how the game works. Like it's a fake game.
Well, it's crazy. Like you can't even, like you said, you can't even just value a company at this point. Like it's so hard. It's almost like throwing darts at a fucking board. It's ridiculous. Like you could just pick any company out there. There's like a few here or there, and like you might get lucky. You might get one that gets a big giant fundraise and raises a shit ton of money, and then all of a sudden they put Web3 back there, and it's like the .com bubble, right? So I don't know like where this is gonna go, but at the end of the day, it's like just going to keep increasing the wealth gap, right? Biden said that he's going to help all his buddies or help, decrease all that. And then, what's going on here? I think that people don't realize the real killer is not taxation. It's not anything like that. It's always inflation, right? Inflation always benefits the rich and always hurts the poor. And it always increases the wealth gap. You can't go wrong about that. Like that's almost 100% the case. And it's just going to continue to keep happening. And at the end of the day, it's sad to say, but the rich are going to keep getting richer and the poor are going to keep getting poorer. And to a certain point, it's like people are pouring money into real estate, stocks, and everything like that. It's like if you don't already have assets and you already don't have like a good paying job and anything like that, you're going to be working to your 80s. Like you're not going to be able to make it. I mean, like you're seeing this right now. I'm seeing it right now with my house too. Like my house is inflating like crazy. I want to buy another one to get into more rental properties, but it's looking like it's harder and harder. And so, we kind of preface it at in the middle when we had some bot come into the chat, but I'm looking and it's like, well, if I want to actually buy another house, I need to make more money on the one unit I have available. And what's the one way I could do that is Airbnb opposed to just a long-term rental. So, like I'm looking at more creative ways to try to get more money in my pocket too, to try to, figure out how to keep growing my wealth, because it's like you got to keep playing this fucking game, and it's like every single, if you, the people that get the most creative are the ones that are going to end up turning out all right. And the ones that already have the most money and can buy up all these assets, they're going to be the ones that, like we said, keep prospering. So,
Yeah, well, and what's the one way that uh nobody's trying to get rich doing? Nobody's trying to get rich by putting their money in a damn savings account, right?
1,000%.
So
Or even high yield savings account.
right,
So
yeah.
that's how I originally saved for my house, and those rates were 2.5% in, like, 2018, 2019. So that wasn't, like, that long ago if you think about it. Like, 3, 4 years ago, you're getting 2.5%. Now you can't even get higher than, like, 0.5%. And it's like, even if I was doing that, I'd feel like an idiot because houses are going up by so much more. And it's at that time, it was like, okay, well, a house goes up 3 to 6 to 9%, whatever, depending on where you're at. That's a good bit, but it's not as much as it's going now. It's like I could put my house on the market right now, and the day it'd be out, I'd probably get like 4 or 5 cash offers for, like, I don't know, 50 to 100 grand over the asking price, no matter what I put it at. So it's crazy. The times are crazy, and I feel really bad for, like, those people that, we grew up with, because they all graduated for the most part, with student loan debt. So it's like they're going to be paying off that student loan debt. The average person pays that off until their 40s. And then, then they're not going to be able to really afford a house, or they're going to have to afford a house in some faraway place outside of a city. They're not going to be as happy. They're going to be working for a lot longer. And, it's just like kind of like a never ending cycle. And we're like that one generation that kind of got kicked to the curb. So, I don't know. It's really tough times, and I think the best savings technology right now is Bitcoin, right? Because, like, it's the one that makes sense. That cap of 21 million, just if it doesn't resonate with you right now, I don't know I don't know what you're doing, because, like, as much money that's being printed and circulated into the system right now, that is like, we need something with, like, a hard cap more now than more than ever. So
I think we're seeing the ultimate convergence of sell points for Bitcoin sell points in the asset and network realm, right? So as you're saying, inflation's worsening. They're now doing shit that is it's hard to say whether or not the things that are happening in Europe right now are just balance sheet maneuvers, as we've been talking about in our little chat. Um, it, like, how far are they willing to go to keep up the inflation so that the economy doesn't crash? It's hard to say right now. It really is, unfortunately. And so Bitcoin comes along, and you've got an asset that has a hard cap and appears to be a good store of value. But then you've also got the Bitcoin network, right? So in these times of inflation, you can look at the asset and be extremely bullish on just the asset. But then you look at what happened in Canada, and you look at what's happening now in the Ukraine. And let's just use Canada as the example, because it actually played out. Well, there was a Tallycoin fundraiser. People were able to get these people money through a decentralized network. Whereas they got shut down with GoFundMe. Sorry, my dog is trying to play with me. Get out of here. What are you doing? What you doing? So that's more of the network side of it, and then of course you've got apps that are coming out that are able to deliver remittance payments and things like that through the Bitcoin and Lightning networks. So I think we're at this ultimate point where, at this point, if you don't understand Bitcoin either as an asset or a network, ideally you understand it as both. Good luck to you. I don't know. I don't know when else you're going to see this kind of convergence. So yeah, man, I've never been more bullish. Everyone knows me. I'm an hourly cost average guy. I buy every hour. Everyone knows it. On Fridays, I up my hourly cost average to 69 cents every hour, which is huge. People see it. I'm very public about it. And I encourage others to do the same. Not obviously, that's not financial advice.
Shut your fucking mouth, dude. Jesus Christ. I hate this guy so much sometimes.
Dude, get a haircut. Get a
Oh
haircut,
my
bud.
God. This guy, like at first, our last videos, he would have his 3 degrees in the background. Now he got embarrassed and bullied off the internet of those 3 degrees. And now somebody's gotta bully the shit out of this guy and just kick him in the chest about this fucking hourly cost average
Well,
thing.
I'll tell you this much right now. I did take the degrees are not down. They're up there, but they're off to my side now. And there was some bullying going on, and it's not a joking matter. I'm against online bullying
Shut your
100%.
fucking mouth, you soft piece of shit. Jesus Christ. All right, Dan's new nickname is Charmin _ Dan. That's where you can follow him. I think it's
10
time to
ply.
wrap this. I think it's time
10,
to wrap the show because
10
I
ply
can't deal
Dan.
with this fucking bullshit anymore.
10 fly Dan, dude.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap it, Brandon. Where can people find us?
All right, so you can find us at Green Candle IT on Twitter and Instagram, but our Instagram account is kind of dead. But also follow us on YouTube. If you follow us on Twitter, you can kind of find our YouTube account. Look out for our Substack at greencandleinvestments.substack.com. And then also look at our Sunday Scary Stock Talk podcast. We might start doing a stream on that. That's TBD. We release those on Sundays, kind of hungover or maybe still a little drunk or buzzed from the night before. We talk about the stock and macro environment. We usually break down a stock. And then also on our Twitter account, join us. If you're listening to this Friday morning, join us later that day at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time on our Bitcoin happy hour. We have some guys that are in the chat, Joey and Len, that always talk to us there. I don't know why. We usually get smarter people than Joey and Len, but smarter than Joey. Len's a pretty smart guy, but Joey's a
We
fucking
take
idiot.
what we can get, honestly. We take what we
Yeah.
can get.
Sometimes we just like to help out the bad guys or the bottom feeders, is like what we really like to call Joey. But yeah, we take what we can get, and yeah, we do that Twitter space, and then we also have like a macro / stock specific one on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. That we get some pretty cool guests in as well. Am I forgetting anything? We put out 2 newsletters a week.
I think Brandon, what you need to do is you need to practice like a 30-second thing in the mirror, maybe twice a day, 3 times a day until you get this down, because it seems like you just kind of go on for minutes and minutes. Here, check this out. Hey everyone, we're Green Candle Investments. We put out 2 newsletters every week, one on Monday, one on Friday. We also host Twitter Spaces, one on Tuesday, one on Friday, and we put out 2 podcasts, one on Sunday and one on Thursday. Tune in, follow us on Twitter at Green Candle Investments IT.
Yeah, but like we put the podcast out on Friday though too. Like
Yeah, but you
we
just
do
need
the
to be
video.
quicker.
We do the video on Thursday. Now that it's live stream, we do it on Thursday, and then the audio is released on Friday.
Yeah, but look, here's Joey saying that everything I just said was true. So you just need to work on it.
Joey, don't kiss his ass, dude. Oh my God. This guy, you're listening to a guy that fucking tore his Achilles playing beer league basketball. That's who you got backing you up over there.
That's true. That's true.
Drink some milk.
Yeah,
all
that's
right?
true. I don't know if milk helps your tendons.
Jesus
Dude,
Christ, drink some milk, kid.
let's wrap. I'm out of here.
All right, I'm out. Thanks for joining the chat. Can you end it and we could stay with the chat or what?
No, it's gonna end for everything.
All right, you're a fucking idiot. All right, just wrap this shit.